Boom, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. I thank all of you for being here wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. I can't believe that it's taken me this long to discuss this, because it is a very impactful story in the realm of college sports, and specifically the Iowa Hawkeyes. So right off the bat, I just want to let you guys know, people who come across my video that are not Iowa Hawkeye fans, I am coming at this from the perspective and bias of being a University of Iowa fan. And some of my commentary will be related to that. However, I do think that this is a broad enough topic to where I would say a majority of my commentary is going to mostly be related to just how it's going to affect college football in general. Mid-majors, Power Fours, and it's not going to be the same across the board, but I'm going to give commentary on it nonetheless. So what I'm referring to is, of course, the decision that junior college will no longer count against the eligibility of athletes. It will not count against them. In other words, in previous times, I think it's fairly straightforward, but just in case it's not, in previous points in college sports history, junior college was seen as an extension of regular college. NCAA, NCAA Division III, NCAA Division II, NCAA Division I. So if you went to junior college and played there for 2 years, you would have exhausted 2 years of eligibility. By and large, there might be situations where maybe you got injured and only played a certain part of the year, and when you're in your senior year, you decide to petition that it wasn't a full enough season, and then you're granted one more year of eligibility, whatever. I'm just saying theoretically that might be possible. Me, I played junior college. I redshirted 1 year and played 1 year. And when I got to my Division I school for water polo, I had 3 years of eligibility remaining and no red shirt. And that's the other aspect. If you red shirt in junior college, your red shirt is gone for college in general. The new decision is that it will not be that. In other words, you can go to junior college for 2 years. And now I don't even know that it has to be 2 years, but theoretically 2 years would be sufficient, because a lot of these professional organizations, and by the way, guys, this conversation is mostly for basketball and football. I do think the other sports, the more Olympic sports, maybe baseball, soccer, is somewhere in between. Those sports might be somewhere in between, basketball and football, the major sports of a school, and like rowing and water polo even. Those sports might be somewhere in between. But we're mainly going to be coming at this from the perspective of football and college and basketball. So I don't even know anymore if you could only go there for 2 years. But from the perspective of when you are eligible for the draft, and this is only going to be applicable to a small percentage of athletes, they have a minimum requirement, and again, this was not always the case, but they have a minimum requirement. I think the NBA started instituting that like after the Sebastian Telfair, the LeBron James. It was probably, if I had to guess without having looked at it recently, probably somewhere between 2005 2010 is when they instituted that you have to go to college for at least a year. You have to be a certain age. It's not that you have to go to college for at least a year. It's you have to be a certain age before you can be eligible for the draft. And some guys don't go to college. Some guys go play in the G League. Some guys go and play overseas. I think Emmanuel Mudiay was probably one of the first high-profile high school five-star basketball athletes to go and do that. I think he went and played in China, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the NFL and college football is a bit different. It's roughly 3 years. Again, it's based off of your age. Some guys coming out of high school are young for their age, and some guys are older for their age, and it kind of works differently. But by and large, it's three years of playing in college. So that would be 19, 20, 20. So I think you have to be 20 or 21 before you can be be eligible to be drafted. So with that said, theoretically, I mean, you might be able to stay in junior college more than 2 years, but traditionally, you would be there for 2 years, max 3 years, okay? And most of the time, especially when it comes to football and basketball, it would only be 2, because if academically you were able to get your AA degree and be eligible to meet the academic requirements of some of these Division I programs, even if you redshirted or even if you only played 1 year, you would still go. Because a lot of these athletes end up going the junior college route because they did not meet the academic requirements of these collegiate institutions, these NCAA Division I, Division II institutions, primarily Division I, FBS and FCS, Football Championship Series. Now, there are some guys that go the junior college route because they maybe went to a smaller school. They didn't have the attention, the notoriety that some of these other recruits had. They flew under the radar for whatever reason. But those would be the primary 2 reasons. And I would say most people, it is understood that the most common one is the academic, not meeting the academic requirements. So this is going to impact college sports tremendously. Now, for my avid listeners who watch my channel consistently, the reason why I did not immediately talk about this is, I've been very busy the last couple of weeks. The first that I had heard about it, I was working at a water polo tournament. You guys know that I am a high school and college sports official, and I was working a water polo tournament for high-level club water polo. And the guys who were doing the scores table started talking about it. And so I was kind of hearing it peripherally. And I couldn't tell if they were talking about it from the perspective of water polo versus football. And so I kind of heard about it peripherally. And in that moment, I mentally logged it. Oh, wow, that's very interesting. But I was busy. I was doing something, so I wasn't able to critically think about it as I normally would. And so I get done working those games, and I go home, and it kind of leaves my mind. And then today, I get home from church, and I start listening to a podcast from Jason Whitlock, who has JB, who is widely known as one of the most popular junior college coaches, perhaps ever. Because of the Netflix special. If you're not aware, he was the coach that was like the most prominent coaches that was featured on the Netflix show. He coached at Independence Community College, which is either in Mississippi or Missouri. I think it's in Mississippi. And he's no longer a junior college coach, but he does have a YouTube channel. So I am going to play it in the background. Normally, I would record this on my, computer, my laptop, and use my better camera and slightly better microphone, and where I could share the screen and you guys could see. I'm not doing that today, but you guys should be able to hear it well enough.
To hurt more of the mid-major schools, and I look at what's going on with Alabama and what's going on across the board, where people are begging fans to foot the bill for untested, really unproven talent. And so, hey, we got to make sure that all these kids have $100, $200, $300, $400,000 in cash every year, so they can buy more gold chains and fast cars and hang around and be little baby rappers. All of these kids, and again, I don't want to paint it like it's the worst picture in the world, but their life is going to peak at age 21 or 22. They'll earn more money at 21, 22 than they will for the rest of their lives. They'll be lost. They'll be enticed to take risk with that money. If they're not headed to the pros, I could sit here and tell you stories about guys that I played college football with. Not a bunch of them, but it was enough. It was like, hey, if I don't make it to the NFL, I'm gonna be a dope dealer, and they did just that, and they've done the time. One of them was killed in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Anybody that went to Ball State with me knows who I'm talking about. It was years later, but he got killed by a Latin American drug cartel probably 10 years ago. But all of these kids are mid-majors. It's another death blow.
Me being who I am, Jason, it's collusion in my opinion.
So I want to listen to JB's take on this. And of course, if you guys want to check it out, you guys can go to his channel. But I'm a little bit more interested to hear some of his thoughts on this than Jason's. Although, Jason, we'll get to that momentarily.
NCAA or this judge forward thought this. From all the readings that I can read into, people that are disagreeing with the viral message that I put out last night, half of them are saying, okay, the NCAA fought this, JB. It's not the NCAA's fault. Me being who I am, Jason, it's collusion in my opinion. The NCAA can care less. It wasn't a monetary lawsuit, Jason. The NCAA only cares about dollars. If they're not being sued for money, Jason, this, JB, it's not the NCAA's fault. Me being, and with eligibility, this is unbelievable times we're in, Jason. I'm just telling you right now, not anymore. Can I leave Alabama, Jason, as a sophomore, go Juco? Does my clock stop? So can I leave Alabama, go Juco, stop the clock, and then come back to Alabama at 26 years old?
I think so.
And be a 27-year-old senior and with eligibility? This is unbelievable times we're in, Jason. I'm just telling you right now. I don't believe the NCAA or this judge forward thought this. From all the readings that I can read into, people that are disagreeing with the viral message that I put out last night, half of them are saying, okay, the NCAA fought this, JB. It's not the NCAA's fault. Me being who I am, Jason, it's collusion in my opinion. The NCAA can care less. It wasn't a monetary lawsuit, Jason. The NCAA only cares about dollars. If they're not being sued for money, Jason, they are fine with this being a portal enhancement. This is what this is. This is a portal enhancement. Making Juco a preparatory institution is only enhancing the portal, which we have 6,000 kids in right now, Jason. There's only 134 Division I playing schools. Do the math.
Yeah.
So here's what I hear on the Juco ruling. If I'm a kid, 4 power academic mature and what's going on picture in the world, but it will for the rest of I'm gonna be a dope deal.
For rule even exist anymore. Can I leave Alabama?
Let's be honest.
Jason, are the classes going to be transferable? Is an AA degree now applicable? That's
a good question.
A 4-2-4 rule even exist anymore? Can I leave Alabama?
So to answer that question, I would say yes. This is going to be my only interjection, then we'll get all the way through it. I would say yes, because even in high school, you can take classes that are transferable, that are college level coursework, that are college accredited courses. So I did that. I have many friends that did that. But I do understand his point. He's saying, well, if junior college is no longer junior college, then how would that academics be college? If the athletics are not college, then how could the academics be college? And that's the thing. I mean, realistically, it's a difference without a distinction. I mean, that's kind of what it is at this point. Where it is slightly inconsistent in that way.
Jason, as a sophomore, go Juco. Does my clock stop?
All right, so I was trying to find a different spot. I don't want to, go digging. If you guys want to listen to that, go ahead and listen to it. But I'll just summarize. He goes on to say that. Actually, you know what? I found my favorite part. I'm gonna play it, and this will be it. So here we go.
Second, third, fourth opportunity. Everyone deserves a trophy era generation, man.
And he's talking about the Vanderbilt quarterback that started this suit.
It's sickening. I'm sick to my stomach. Junior college football will either implode and become null and void, or it will become a hustler's dream like me, and I will be Bill Belichick's direct pipeline to North Carolina.
Let's be honest.
All right, so there we go. So here are my thoughts. So let me start here. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Personally, I do err on the side that capitalism, while it does have its drawbacks, especially when it comes to the upkeep of a nation or the upkeep of institutions, including things like the NCAA or college institutions, by and large, I believe that it's the best system in the world. Personally, I would lean towards some sort of like restrained capitalism in which there's checks done in the right way by the government. I'm not against checks being done by the government, but again, it depends on who's in power and who implements said checks and where they put those funds and things like that. Because capitalism, when it, and I don't want to, obviously, I don't want to, this is just my personal take. And I'm not going to make this into my worldview type thing. But capitalism, when left unchecked, can definitely take the soul out of systems and institutions and things like that, where money and the attainment of money becomes the god or the predominant entity of any particular system. Okay? But with that said, I don't think that there is a better, like, just in a vacuum, this versus this versus this, not like a meshing of things. I think capitalism is the best system that we have. And so that has brought the most people out of poverty in the world than any other system in any other point in history. With that said, okay, I find it very difficult to tell these young adults that they should not make any money from the labor that they put in and the money that they directly bring into the institutions. Now, are these institutions making money based off of the fact that they are the institution? Of course. Like, for example, I'm an Iowa fan. Would I watch the University of Iowa? Like, for example, Caleb Johnson is just put together one of the best seasons as a running back for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and he'll likely be drafted in the upcoming NFL draft. Okay. Maybe another name for those that aren't as familiar, maybe like a Sam Laporta or TJ Hawkinson or George Kittle back in the day, although he wasn't as high of a draft pick, or a Cooper DeJean, aka Cooper DeJean. But for the sake of the argument, let's just talk about Caleb Johnson, okay? If those guys were not at the University of Iowa and I did not know their name at all, or whether I did know their name, would it make a difference? No, I would still support the University of Iowa. But, and I think most fans are that way, but obviously individuals help the success of any team, and the overall success of the team brings in more excitement, more money, more revenue. Okay? That is the quintessential aspect of sports organizations. There are some fans that are more individual fans than they are the team fans. But I think by and large, most fans are fans of the team rather than the individual. The only sport that is not the case would be possibly the NBA. Okay. And I would say that it is unique to be sure. So I do think that. So I am not against these kids making money. There is no other aspect of civilization or the job market in which you bring in that sort of money and you don't see some sort of compensation from bringing in that sort of money. And make no mistake, I'm not like some big supporter of the NCAA. The NCAA, I don't know if you guys have seen the South Park episode, but they're very lucky. And these institutions I'm no fan of these institutions either. Okay, especially seeing what they decide to do with some of the money that they bring in. But I also believe that there's something to be said about amateurism, about being a student athlete, about developing, about coming in and developing yourself as a man, as a person, as an individual into adulthood. Okay, and I think that there's truth to Jason Whitlock's comment of, we don't need any more baby rappers where they get all this money, they ask for all this money. And when they get said money, they do stupid stuff with the money. They buy chains, they buy cars, whatever, what have you. But anybody who's logical knew that was going to be the case. And at the end of the day, it is their money, whatever they choose to do with it. I mean, wasn't there the ESPN documentary titled Broke? I mean, even full-blown pros do this, okay? There's just a massive amount of people who are not educated in the realm of finances and planning and saving. But there is some truth to that. They worked this hard, and at the end of the day, or some individuals work this hard to make this a reality, and at the end of the day, they are, kind of doing some stupid stuff with their money, at least to a lot of people and how they view it. So, and again, I do think that there is something to being somebody who is being developed into adulthood, and there's something to be said about these institutions, the loyalty, these universities, the loyalty to the program, to the coach, and stuff like that. But where is that line? Where is that perfect median? I don't have the answer. I don't think you do either. And that's kind of why we are in the wild, wild west, because there is no easy answer to this. There is no like line in the sand that is a perfectly drawn line in the sand. There's just not. In this current system, aside from the junior college thing, are there going to be, and has there been, especially with COVID, and Jason Whitlock called it the everybody gets a trophy situation, and there is some truth to that as well. Are we going to get these kind of like 24, 25-year-old grown men that are like at their peak of physicality still playing in college? Yeah. And now with Juco, that's going to be the case even more. And I definitely agree with JB that what is going to start happening is there are going to be guys that are not academically inclined. And see, that's the thing, is that not paying athletes definitely did give an incentive to them to be academically responsible. Now, was there still people who were not being ethical with that? There was the story about North Carolina basketball players having other people doing their homework and stuff like that. Are there stories of that, examples of that? Absolutely, 100%. But it, at the very least, it did hold them accountable more than what the current system does. Okay. And Jason Whitlock and JB are also right that fans are going to be the ones who foot the bill by and large to get these recruits that come out of high school that may not even end up staying with the university, because nothing is holding them down to staying at the universities, who haven't even proven that they can play at the college level. And apparently, Michael Jordan had comments on that. In other words, there is no incentive for them to produce. They're kind of just being granted this notoriety and these rewards based off of not really having done anything yet. And you could say, well, but they did this in high school. Okay, but high school is high school. Like, that's not the pinnacle. High school is so hard to judge compared, like the level between high school to junior college even is vastly different. Okay. The level from high school to Division I is miles apart. Okay. So, and again, I can say that as a former Division I athlete myself. So it's just, the bottom line is they have not proven anything, and they're already being granted this money, because if Iowa doesn't give them money, then Michigan will, or Iowa State will, or Minnesota will, or whatever the case may be. And they may not even stay at the school. And so now, especially just to kind of focus this in and bring this in on the junior college situation, I do think you're going to see schools, and I think Iowa will be one of them, where they do start recruiting junior colleges a lot more, because now they'll be able to get these athletes that are more developed physically, mentally. In theory, they will have done, they'll be a little bit better academically because they have some college courses under their belt, college credits. And they'll be able to come to Iowa, for example, and they'll be starting here as opposed to starting here. Okay. Now, you could say that there's something to be said about, the University of Iowa getting a guy earlier on and being able to develop them, all 4 years and getting their hands on them sooner. But again, even that doesn't really make sense, because again, they're still going to have all 4 years available. So Iowa will still be able to develop them, assuming they stay at which is a big assumption, that they stay at the University of Iowa. And so on top of that, you're going to see a lot less high school recruits being recruited and going straight to Division I, because these schools, a lot of schools already would rather go to the transfer portal and get huge transfer portal classes than getting a huge high school recruiting class, because they would rather land guys that they know can play at the college level than get a guy out of high school who may have a ton of upside, but they don't know for sure can play at the Division I level. Because again, these college coaches know that, yes, on one hand, you can see the talent that a high school kid has, but there's much more intangibles. You don't know that the level of competition they played was just terrible and, made them look better than they were. It's hard to know for sure their work ethic, their drive, how much they love the sport, or whether they were just kind of naturally gifted. And these colleges do a ton of homework out on these athletes. And yes, they do hit on a lot of these and are successful in their evaluations, but there's a lot of them that they aren't, because it's when you're dealing with human beings, there's these intangibles that are hard to see that lie beneath the surface. And I'm here to tell you that the number one differentiating factor from being successful in high school to being successful in college is your love and of the game and your heart, your drive for success. Now, are there some guys that are just so physically gifted that they can be successful no matter what? Yes. And there's videos of NBA players talking about that. I think DeMar DeRozan has talked about that, how there's a lot of guys in the NBA who don't truly love the game of basketball. Okay, well, that's fair. But yeah, that's what you're going to get, guys. You're going to get these college institutions that are filling up their recruiting classes, their scholarship distributions. At the end of the day, that's what it boils down to, is their scholarship distributions. They are going to be filling them up with transfer portal guys and junior college guys. And the junior college guys are going to essentially be their high school recruiting class, or what used to be the high school recruiting class. And yes, they are also right, JB and Jason. I mean, if you are a super high level athlete that has it in your mind that you will only be successful if you make it to it's NBA or bust, or NFL or bust, why would you go to college? Like, I mean, it would be much better if you can just go to, in essence, a prep school, which is what these junior colleges are going to essentially turn into, and physically develop and mentally develop, and, somewhat work on your school, but not as rigorously as you would in college, like college, like Division I college. You can kind of take a little bit more of a reserved role with that. And I heard JB say when he was on the All the Smoke podcast, where he said, and you heard him mention it to Jason Whitlock, where there's going to become these schools that have these junior college coaches like JB that basically recruit all these guys, and they get paid to funnel those guys to a certain Division I program, like a North Carolina or like a Ohio State or whatever. And there is that payment that is made for JB to be the development before they get to Ohio State. Okay? I mean, there is so much that is unknown with this. I mean, it is going to be crazy. It is going to be crazy, guys. I don't know how else to say it. I really think that we are going to see a lot more guys decide to go to the junior college route. It won't happen initially because it takes time. Human beings tend to be cautious. It's going to take a lot more time for people to see other people do it. But once they see the first couple of success stories, that's what they're going to start doing. They're going to go straight to high school, or they're going to go straight to junior college. They're going to go there. They're going to develop. They're going to get better. And then with 1 year of eligibility remaining, they'll go to a school like USC. They'll go to a school like Alabama or Georgia or whatever. And they'll play 1 year. They'll be a one and done or a two and done, and they'll be gone. So that's pretty much it on the junior college thing. From an Iowa fan perspective, again, I would never tell you guys to donate your money. I know how fickle the NIL situation is. At the end of the day, you have to do what you think is feasible for you. But just know, I mean, you may not get a return on your investment, just like Cade McNamara. But I have said for a while that Iowa needs to give more content and more videos and projects, more inside content for the University of Iowa than what we currently get. And it's gotten better over the years, but we need more. I've been a big proponent of that. I think that I really believe it would help with recruiting. And look at it. University of Tennessee is doing it. They're attaching it to NIL and the donations that donors provide. And Alabama's doing it now with Alabama or whatever, or Yay Alabama or whatever it's called. So these are interesting times, guys. It really is. My last thought on the junior college thing is I think that the schools that are going to hurt the most from this are the mid-tier teams, the mid-major programs, because as Jason Whitlock said, why would you go to a mid-major school right out of college when you can just go to a junior college, develop, get better, then go to Alabama, dominate, and then go to but then again, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Not everybody can be that type of guy that has that sort of talent. I mean, I am also a believer that these sorts of things end up working themselves out. And I was really thinking to myself this when I was looking at Iowa's recruiting website on Rivals, and you can see where everybody that has left Iowa has transferred to. And all of these guys are now at FCS schools. And I thought to myself, you know what? It kind of works itself out. Yes, there are, way more people in the transfer portal than there should be, but it does kind of work itself out. All those guys that left Iowa realistically probably are not Big Ten level players, and that's why they're not playing in the Big Ten anymore. That's why they didn't play at Iowa. That's why they are at Elon or South Dakota State or, Northern Iowa. Not that those are bad schools, but they're also not Iowa. It does kind of work itself out. So anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think. It's already almost 40 minutes into the video. Thank you guys so much for your support. Like, comment, share. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, DBAP. Don't be a pussy, Willow. Facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. I love you guys. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.